Hello friends, in this video I will be covering the remaining topics of our decision making loops, iterator and control flow. So let's start with each. So let me open the terminal and I can each is a let me define the syntax first. You can define uh, each like this. You can define the item iterator and use the item like this. This is just a simple syntax that each do and then you can iterate the item one by one from this array. Okay, so we have implemented, that's why I did not print anything. But let me go through with an example. So I have defined an array 1 2 3 4 5. I am iterating each item into this. The first value will come into the item, it prints second and so on. Let me run this. If it is an one line statement, you can open the curly braces and close it. But if it is a multi-line, you can use the do and syntax. Okay, so let me run this. Here, see, puts item. It is printing one by one. Suppose in this loop, you also need an index, like 0. First item is where it is placed. Is placed as the index number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if you want to fetch the index, you can use the one method and each with index. Okay, so let me run that. Each with index. Okay, so here it is. Here now we can also pass one more argument, index here. So first item will be item from this array and index will be the that starts with 0 1 2 3 4. I have printed this. Item is 1, index is 0. See, index starts with 0 1 2 3 4. Okay, so each you can also run with the hash as well instead of this array. Let me run this. I have defined this as this is a key value. So you also need to pass two argument here, key and value. Okay, so h dot each key value, you can print this. You can access the key will be beacon at the first time, beacon, and value will be 300. So on the first key value pair, it prints this. Beacon price is 300, coconut price is 200. This for the second pair. So you can run on this hash as well. Also you can also ask the index value, and for example this is the second item, but at what index. If you need the index for this hash as well, you can pass with this syntax like this, each with index. Here you can pass the key value, comma, and then index. You can use it like this. So let me show you. I have defined one hash again. Now I am asking for the index. See, for the first index is 0, for the second index is 1. That's it for this each. Then the next one is map. So let me show you. Let me clean this up. So map is also the same way that we can define the each. Instead of each, we define the map, and you can define item, ports item. So it is the exact same, but we define the map here. You can define with on array as well. Like 1 2 3, it will also print the same thing. Puts item 1 2 3, it is printed. But the main difference between the each and map here is map returns the modified values. Okay, but each returns the exact value. Let me show you with an example. Suppose if I have defined uh, this statement, okay, and here I am modifying this item multiply by 2. So if I am running this on the map, it will return this modified array, means item multiply by 2 on the first item multiply by 2, second item multiply by 2, whatever it has prepared, it will return the modified values. See here 2 4 6 8 10, it has prepared it has returned the modified value. But if I run on the each, It has modified, but it will return the original array. It is the main difference of using map and each. So let me cover one more thing. If you want to use the map with a multi-line, you can use the do and syntax here. uh, Let me this puts item I am printing, and it will return the last statement. Okay, so if I run this, even this is running, but it does print this item multiply by 4. So last statement is being written. So see here, that is written. Put 2 4 6 8 10. Even if you use this statement as the last statement, it will run this. So let me swap this and run this. It will return the last statement. Puts return the nil. That's why it is printing nil. Let me remove the puts like this. Now it will return item is 1, item is 2, item is 3. So on the last statement it returns map. Okay, so that's the use of map. You can also ask for the index with the map as well, but here there is a different way. In each, you define the each with index. That's a method, but here you have to define one more method, map dot with index. Okay, then you can ask for the index. Let me run this and you can see example. So item is 1, index is 1, index is 0 1 2 3 4. Even you can ask for hash as well, like we did here. uh, Here and ask dot map, ask h e value, puts key is e value is. Now I can also, so means the map you can also run on the key value pair on the hash as well. Key is beacon, value is 30. For each pair it is running one map. So that's it for this map. Okay, so now let me move to the next one, that is select and any. So these are the two methods that I would like to cover. So select is just to it's a filter, a kind of filter. You can use it. Suppose I want the selected items from this array. Okay, for example, I need only even number. Okay, so I can run this select, and I can ask for this if item is even, just return. Okay, so let me run this. So it will return only the even number, because this, if this condition is true for this item, it is inserted into the new array. Okay, and then this array will be returned. It is running for one item is even, no, false. If it is running for this item is even, yes, it is inserted into array, and at the end it returns the array. If this condition satisfied, it returns it. For example, you can also ask for odd 135, it has written the for the odd array. So you can ask this, you can use the select as a filter. Now let me talk about the any. So what does any do? If any of this condition uh, if any of this condition true, then it will return only true and false based on this condition. Okay, you can run on the collection of items. For example, I am asking if any of the item is greater than 10. If any item greater than 10, just it will just return true and false. Let me run this. It is returning false because no item is greater than 10. Okay, it the use case of this we can use here. If in the if statement, let me give an example. If country is equals to India, I am just using the or statement here, that if country is India, Europe or US, I have to do something. Okay, so instead of defining in this way, you can define like collection of array, and if any of this item is equals to country, means the country is India, then this condition is true, then do our stuff. So let me do that. I have defined this country India. I am using it here as a true as false, true or false. So country is India, okay, then it is returned true, because I have to do our stuff if either country India or Europe. Okay, so if the country is uh, China, then it will return false. So that's the purpose of this. Even if you can ask that if any of item is nil, it will return or not. See, if it is present nil, item is nil, it is returning true. If it does not have nil, it is returning false. So for the returning true and false, we can use it. Now let's talk about the control flow. So we can actually control the flow of execution of any code. Okay, so now let's talk about the break first. So break here we can use like this. Suppose if we are running this loop, okay, for each, but if you want to break this loop so that it will not execute after that, is whatever I have written over here, it will not execute this. Okay, because we have break this loop. So here we can define some condition. On this condition, if it is satisfied, then break this. For example, I am using it for the item that is 1. uh, it will not break here because the condition here is if item is greater than 3, means for the value of 4 and 5 it will break, otherwise it will run. So I have satisfied this condition. Let me run this. Okay, see here, for the 1, 2 and 3 it is printing 1 2 3, but when the item value is 4, it satisfies this condition, means 4 is greater than 3, then it has break this loop. Now it will not run it. For 4 and 5 it did not run because it has broken this. So that's the use of break. Okay, so now let's talk about the next. So how the next work. Suppose if we are iterating from any of the array on each iterator, so next will continue the execution. Okay, so from here onwards it will not execute the rest of the code, but from here onwards it will go to the next iteration. Okay, so the first iteration, the item value is 1. For the second iteration, 2 3 4 and 5. Okay, so for the first iteration it is printing the value and it is checking if 1 greater than 2, it does not satisfy the condition, so it will execute the rest of the code. Okay, for the 2 it will execute the same flow, but when the item is 3, okay, so it will print 3, and now this condition satisfy. 3 is greater than 2, it is true. Now it will execute the next. So now onwards it will not execute this code, and it will execute the next iteration. So now next iteration the item will be 4 and then 5. So it will only print this item 4 and 5. It will not print this end of this loop because it will not execute after this code. Okay, let me run this. Let's see here. 1, end of this loop. 2, end of this loop, because it did not satisfy this condition. But when the item is 3, okay, 3, it prints it and this condition is satisfied, and from now onwards it will continue the next iteration, that is 4 and 5. That is 4 and 5. It does not execute the last after that code. Okay, so see here. So that's the purpose of this next. You can continue the iteration without and stop the execution the codes after that. So now let's talk about the begin rescue. So that's the syntax of begin rescue. Begin, rescue, ensure and end. So whatever we are writing in begin and rescue, in between begin and rescue, okay, process, that you think that it can raise any exception means when something is encountered, but during that any unexpected happen. For example, if you have divided 10 by 0, so if you have divided 10 by 0, it will raise the exception like this, divided by 0. Okay, 0 division error. So it has raised the exception. You do not know, but it can happen at any of the time. So you can rescue this code. So you can define this exception and then the message, and you can handle it here. Okay, and you wanted to execute some code here that whether the exception has been raised or not, but you wanted to ensure that this code must be executed, so that you can write the code here. So that's the purpose of begin rescue. Let me give an example here. I am writing this code. I am in begin block. This exception has been raised. Okay, you can handle this exception here with this code. Now the control is executing from here. Now exception is, now this control has came here, and this will always be printed. Let me run this. Okay, so this raised the exception. I am in the begin block. Rescue block, this has rescued, it has raised the exception. Exception handled here. Rescue block puts exception message. What exception has been raised? Message will come here, and it is printing this. So divided by 0, that was the message. And also the last statement, ensure, that will always be executed. Means whether the exception raised or not, it will always be executed. Let me remove this. Now let me run this. This time the exception did not raise. Okay, so this did not run, only this and this. I am in begin block and always executed. Okay, because this time exception did not raise. Also you can specify, this is the parent class of exception, that if you do not know the exception type, you can define the parent exception, and you can handle all types of exception here. But if you know that some types of exception can be raised, for example, I have defined one method, and this time it is expecting 2 arguments, but I have defined only 1 argument here, so it may raise argument error. I know, so I can define this exception argument error. And if something else can happen, so I have also defined this exception, because if it will satisfy this condition, or if it finds this exception argument error, it will execute here. And if any of this exception error did not define it, it will go to the parent exception handle case here. Okay, so now just let me run this. I'm defining here. See here, the argument error has been raised from here, and now it has handled this, and argument error block from here, then argument error block. And what is the message? Wrong number of arguments, given 1, expected 2. 2 was expected, but we have provided 1, so that was the error message. So if we are very particular, we know that exception type can raise, we can define this type of in rescue. If we do not know, if we can write our code like exception parent, which every exception will be handled in this case. Okay, so now let me talk about the retry. So what does retry do? Suppose I have written here some code that can raise the exception, but I wanted this code to be run again. Okay, then I can use the retry. So in the live example, like we are calling some API, and that API can raise the exception. Even we can handle this code with the rescue block, but we should at least try the 3 times for this API calling before raising any exception. So in that case, we can retry 3 times. So that's the purpose of retry. So what retry does, if we use the retry, then this code will again be executed. Let me show you with an example. If I is equals to 0, okay, so I am printing the value of I is plus 1, has been increased by plus 1. Now this time I am raising manually the exception. This is an exception. Okay, so rescue, if I is less than 3, means for the first time I value is 0 and increase by 1. For the first time I value is becomes here 1. Okay, so now this block will be executed again, because this satisfy this condition at least for 3 times. This will run. Okay, so restart from the beginning. it will restart from the beginning here. And now I value becomes, for the second time it will becomes 2. 2 is also less than 3. Okay, then it will again execute this, and then if I 3 value less than 3 for the third time, it will break it. For the retry it will not work. Let me show you. Let me run this code. See here, for the first time I value is 0, for the second time, for the third time. Okay, and when I value is becomes 3 and 3 less than 3, it this condition false, then it did not call this retry, and this execution of this code breaks. Okay, so if you want to rerun this code, use the retry. That's the purpose of retry. Now let me talk about the redo. What does redo do? If suppose if you want to again rerun the loop, then use redo. Let me talk with an example. I am iterating this array with the for loop. Okay, so the first time item value will be 1, and for the second time it will become 2. Okay, and now it will iterate from here. Now if it founds a redo, then it will reiterate from here. If found it redo, it will reiterate from here. It found redo, it will reiterate from here. But every time the item value will be 1, it will not be 2, 3, 4, 5. It is reiterating from here. That's the purpose of this redo, without asking it for the for loop. That, let me run this. See, we have entered into an infinite loop. Okay, so because every time it is iterating from here and it founds redo, it is reiterating. Let me break this. Okay, so if I am using this condition here, I is equals to 0, the same loop I am using it here. Okay, now this time I value is increasing by 1. I am using now redo with some condition. If this condition true, then use redo, means the reiterate. Redo means again do the same thing. Okay, and now if this condition false, then it will break this, means do not run the redo. Let me run this code. Okay, so see, for the first time the item value is 0, here I value is 1. 1 less than 3, true, redo, same do. So same do. Now I value is 2. 2 less than 3, yes, redo. Now for the third time I value is 3, this condition false. If this condition becomes false, then do not redo, means reiterate this. Now I value is now the item value will be 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the purpose of redo, means redo this loop. So that's it for the redo. Now let me talk about the last thing, the return. So return that we have already covered, but let me cover this. Suppose I have defined one method here. Now I can return something. If this condition is true, just return it. Okay, so now let me define this. Okay, so now I can call this method, and if this condition is true, it does return, and it did not print this. See, it did not print this one. Okay, so and we know that method will always return the last statement. That is an implicit return. So this thing. Okay, so I have defined method. Use this. It will always return this string because this is the last statement here. So it is printing underneath this here. Okay, and suppose if this condition is true, like 5 greater than 3, if this condition true, just return this, else return this. So it is using the return, and it is just returning it. I am using the method one again. It will, this condition satisfied, it is returning this. So it is an implicit return. What's the purpose of return? We can stop the executing the code after that and return this something. So that's the purpose of return. So that's it for this video, and thank you.